Once you have a new site designed, you'll occasionally need to add information to the site or edit the existing information. And it's also not uncommon to have your files panel crowded with older sites that are no longer current projects. To deal with these types of situations, you'll need to understand a little about site management in Dreamweaver. Managing your sites in Dreamweaver is extremely easy, as Dreamweaver puts the information right at your fingertips. We'll examine a few ways to access the site management dialog box, take a look at its capabilities, and then talk about editing our sites. So how do we access our site management dialog box? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. I can go up to the menu and I can choose Site, Manage Sites. I could go over to my quick access icon and go to Manage Sites from here. And I could go over to my Files panel, grab the pull-down menu that lists all my available sites, and right at the bottom of that, choose Manage Sites from there. It doesn't really matter which one I choose. I'm going to get the exact same dialog box. Now that we have the Manage Sites dialog box up, let's take a look at what some of this stuff will do for us. First, if I just wanted to create a new site, there's a New button right there. I also have an Edit button, so I could choose one of these sites and then click Edit and edit some of those existing settings. Now, we'll talk about that in just a moment. I also have a duplicate site. Now, why in the world would I want to do that? Well, let's say that one site was going to upload files to a quality assurance server. And then after your site had passed the QA testing, you needed to upload it to a remote server. Well, Dreamweaver can't have multiple remote declarations in a site. So you could create one that uploads to the QA server, duplicate it, and then change the remote to the live server on that one. So you can see here we have one called Groundswell Remote. So maybe the Groundswell site is uploading to a QA server and the remote would be uploading to the live website. So that's a really easy thing to do. I can also export or import files. I can also export and import site definitions, and this is really interesting. So I could select Groundswell and I could choose export, and then it would export that out as an STE or a site definition file. If I was moving to a different computer or if somebody else was going to work on this in a collaborative environment, this is a nice way of going ahead and exporting out all those settings so that you don't have to enter in all that information again. The downside to this is that if you're going to give this to a coworker, remember that this site definition is pointing to a specific root directory. If they don't have that folder in exactly the same spot on their local drive, then it's pointing to the wrong place and it won't be as effective. You'll notice that we have one option that I haven't talked about, which is remove. Let's say you have an old site that you're not going to use anymore. You can go ahead and highlight it and choose remove, and it's going to delete that from your site definitions. Note that it told me that it could not undo that action, so that's not something you want to do lightly. You want to be absolutely certain that that is exactly what you wanted to do. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click Done. I mentioned editing sites, so I'm going to grab my pull-down menu and choose Groundswell. Well, we know that if we bring up the Manage Sites dialog box, Edit is an option right there, but there's a much faster way to edit sites. Right now, the Groundswell site is my current site. If I go over to the Files panel and I double-click Groundswell, up comes my site definition dialog box for that. So to me, that's a much faster way of accessing that. So here I notice that my Groundswell site does not have a default images folder specified. The default images folder is really nice because if that's specified, if Dreamweaver ever has to create images like spacer GIF files or something like that, it knows where to put them. So I'm going to click on Browse. It'll take me right into my root directory. I can find my images folder, select it, click OK. It'll make the change to the site, and now that's registered as being the default images directory, which is nice. Chances are you won't need to do a lot of work managing your sites, but knowing that Dreamweaver makes any changes you need to make to your site definitions quick and easy allows you not to worry about updating your site and concentrate instead on creating your content.